Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Silhouette Sunday. In today's video, I'm continuing to work on holiday gifts and I'm making some personalized trucks. And this is definitely going to be a case of how small can this silhouette cut before it just destroys vinyl. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I got these small trucks in the Bullseye's Playground, also known as the Dollar Spot at Target. And I want to go ahead and personalize the doors for some of my coworkers who actually do know their wedding dates, just because I thought it would make a nice personalized gift. You could just do a family name if you would prefer that, or a sentiment, or you actually could just leave it blank. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to be personalizing these trucks. And the small door on the truck is actually only an inch and a half by an inch. It's very, very small. So as a reference, I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle that's approximately 1.5 by 1, just so that I know what size I'm typing in, or how much space I'm working with. So this is about the size of the actual size of the door, and for the sake of this video and everyone's eyes, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that we can see. So for the side of the truck, I'm going to type the family's name, and this one I'm working on currently is Anderson. So I'm going to click on the text tool, and the font I'm going to use is called SignPainter. Now, this font came on my computer, but as far as I know, it doesn't come on all computers. If it's available on DeFont, I will link it down below, but this may be one of those fonts that if you really want it, you have to pay for it. So I have Anderson typed out here on my screen, and as you can see, the letters naturally overlap. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the whole thing, or select the whole thing, right click, and go ahead and weld this together. And I'm going to also draw that box one more time, right click, and then go to group, because I want this in to move with everything else. Now, this is obviously too big for this small rectangle I have here, so I'm going to go ahead and scale this down so that it fits within the box. And as you can see, this is quite small, but it does fit in the box there. And then underneath, I'm going to write the year that this particular person was married, which was actually just 2 years ago, so 2014. So I'm going to select the text tool again and put my established, so EST 2014. And the font, as you can see, defaulted back to Arial over here on the right hand side. So I'm just going to drag my mouse over the text here and change this back to SignPainter. And I'm going to select it all again and scale it down so that it fits underneath my label over here on the left. So that's far, far too big. So I'm going to keep going down because I don't want it to be as big as the name. So I have the established 2014. And as just to break the two portions up, I'm going to take my rectangle tool and I'm going to draw just a really thin line that's about an inch long. And really, this is just to break up the monotony. I don't want it to be too big, so I'm going to make it as thin as possible. And then I'm going to line this up underneath. Now, I'm just going to eyeball it for the time being, because if I use the alignment tool, some of this stuff is going to go a little wonky. And it's just because when you type, if your text box is bigger than what it thinks it should be, you get funny alignment. But I can show you that in another video. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and select this established 2014. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go ahead and weld that together as well. And then I'm going to right click one more time and hit group. And this way I know it will all stay together in the event that I have to move it. And looking at it, I already know that that's just a little too big. So I'm going to scale that down a little bit more and then center it. So that looks pretty good. So I'm actually going to go ahead and delete my guide box. And because I'm using heat transfer vinyl, I need to mirror this entire design. So I'm going to take my mouse and draw it and select the entire thing. go up above to the align, oh, not the align window, to the replicate window. It took me a while to get there. To the replicate window, and I'm going to mirror it to the right. So this will cut it backwards on my transfer material so that I can iron it on the little truck. And I'll go ahead and delete this. And now I'm ready to go ahead and send this to the silhouette to cut out. I have the die cut piece here, and before I can adhere it down to the side of the truck, I need to weed the design free from the excess portion of the vinyl. So it was pretty easy to remove. Most of it I was able to just peel away by hand, but the inside portion of the closed letters I had to use my silhouette pick to remove. Now, I made sure to remove all of the excess because anything that's still on that transfer sheet will end up getting transferred to the truck later. After I finished cleaning my design, I moved to cleaning up the truck, and I just used a paper towel and a little bit of Windex to remove any fingerprints or oils from my fingers that had transferred onto the truck from handling. Then I take my weeded out design and place it on the door. But before I push down to hold it in place using the tackiness of the backer sheet, I make sure that it's relatively centered and where I want it to appear on the final project. The vinyl I'm using for this project is heat transfer vinyl. It's typically used for fabrics, but it actually works really well for ceramics as well. And I'm using a small iron to heat up the design to transfer it off of the backer sheet. And I actually prefer to use a small iron as opposed to a full-size iron because it sits in place longer and it's more accurate in terms of where you're placing your heat. Once I've left the iron on the design for 2 to 3 minutes, I remove it as well as the towel, and now I can remove the backer sheet from the die cut. You do need to use caution though if you go to immediately remove the backer sheet because the ceramic will be hot.